In this lesson, we are looking at the evolution of, and continuation of, for that matter, of markets, in particular in Indian country, and the transformation of economies that occurred. And something that we need to remember is that there already was economic systems in place at the time of contact with Europeans and through the period of continued contact. But what occurred as a result of colonization was the transformation of tribal economies to accommodate the European and Euro-American, either willingly or by force eventually. And so we are examining these as a part of this understanding of the types of works that are produced in particular the 19th century and early 20th century. And we see the effect of market. And by looking at the Southwest in a case study, we can in many ways extend the same type of thinking and even look for the same types of factors in other parts of the country and even the hemisphere. So something that is very necessary for a market to develop and to be maintained is infrastructure. And that means the various entities that exist within a market that support it. And very important to it is travel. But you also need a medium of exchange, a dependable medium of exchange. You need businesses, and you need people who frequent those businesses, as well as the people who produce goods that are sold to the businesses or the people who are frequenting the businesses. And so as you look at this postcard, it's a Fred Harvey Hotel postcard, and what it shows you is the route of the Santa Fe Railroad as it's in essence is leaving Kansas and is headed west to California or east into Kansas and beyond. And key focal points along this way are Las Vegas, and that's Las Vegas, New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Albuquerque, Gallup, Winslow, Williams, where they stop off at the Grand Canyon, Seligman, and all the way into Los Angeles, California. And you'll note along this postcard that you see to the north, say for example in Colorado, you see a man who's doing fly fishing, whereas in the southwest you see whether it be the southeast southwest or the southwest southwest, you see a Navajo weaver, a Pueblo potter, and then another image shows you basketry. These are all parts of the allure of coming to the Southwest, and they are also reflective of the types of changes that occurred in people's creative output as a result of the railroad. And we'll go into those in a little bit more detail in future lessons. So there are some intense 19th century challenges for tribal peoples because of the disruption or complete subversion of their tribal lifestyles, land bases, and economies. That people who formerly were living upon huge areas of land, their land base has been reduced drastically. The types of activities they formerly did to feed themselves as well as intertribal trade have now been diminished or completely obliterated. They are now watching a transformation into a trader and a barter economy as well as a cash economy. And something we have to understand too is that when you have the traders and the like, they are in essence middle people who are between the Indian artists and the people who are buying Indian art. And so the traders themselves are actually making a pretty good living off of American Indian craftspeople at the posts. And something that you see at the posts too is that the medium of exchange is more fluid, and that people are bringing in goods that they don't, because they don't operate on a cash economy necessarily. However, the traders, when they are engaging non-natives, are definitely working on a cash economy, and they're very acutely aware of the cash. So in the trading posts, you have people who are keeping records with ledger books, and it's kept track of how much you owe in cash. However, you may bring in goods in order to pay off your bill. Or later you might find that you might bring in pawn to put against your bill. So these are important considerations for people whose economies have been disrupted. But you also have transcontinental travel, as you saw on that postcard, via the railroad, which is going to bring people to the West very, very easily. And that's going to have an effect on the types of work that's produced, as well as the availability of markets for works that are produced, because you have these new markets then of people who have who come from the East and are wanting to spend their money in the West. So you have the new markets and the development of tourism. You have also native peoples being part of cultural curiosity as well as intrusion then into native communities as a result of people wanting to come and see real live Indians. And out of that, that notion of a real live Indian, you have this notion of Indian authenticity, which is very strongly related to perceptions of race as well as perceptions of creativity. And then the types of institutions that would develop and the types of legislations that would develop in order to enforce racial purity and racial purity as it's reflected in the arts. So we have the arrival of cultural and capital entrepreneurs, whether it be the various museums, artists and galleries, art patrons, anthropologists, archaeologists, and ethnologists who are converging on the Southwest. You have the arrival of travel and hospitality industry financiers. You have the development of an art and craft market as well as a souvenir industry, because some people can't afford art and craft but still want something to take home that shows that they were in the Southwest. You have Indian traders. You have travelers with disposable income who are headed for points of destination. In the East, it might be Niagara Falls or the Great Lakes. In the West, it's maybe the national parks, the Grand Canyon, and so on. And each interest has opinions about the interests of the others. In other words, museum personnel are concerned with artists and the various people who work for them. The artists and art patrons are concerned about artists. They're concerned about the people who are visiting, but they're also concerned about people who are doing souvenirs, because they tend to view souvenirs as being very lowbrow and want people to be coming to the Southwest to gain quality goods rather than cheap goods. So there are various competing and conflicting interests anytime you have cultural and capital entrepreneurialism.